In the quiet suburb of Harahan, Louisiana, USA, a tragedy unfolded that shattered the familiar world and the idyllic peace that once reigned on its tranquil streets. At the center of this story is young Bella Fontanelle, a 6-year-old girl whose life was abruptly cut short in the very place where she was supposed to feel truly safe. Today, she could have been finishing preschool, enjoying summer days, swimming in a pool, but Bella will never be able to do any of that. Not today, not ever. Because her life was taken from her in the most inhuman way, taken by the one who was meant to love her, to care for her. The circumstances surrounding her death seemed as horrifying as they were tangled, until a video emerged, casting doubt on the person closest to the girl and revealing the truth about what happened on that warm April evening in 2023. Louisiana is a multicultural state, but even in that context, the family of Michael Fontanelle and Jennifer Zeledon stood out. Michael was an American of French descent, while Jennifer had Honduran roots. The couple gave the world 2 beautiful daughters, Aria and Bella, but unfortunately, their parents soon decided to separate. The separation was far from easy, yet Michael and Jennifer tried to do everything possible to minimize its impact on their children. They agreed on custody arrangements, and since their homes were only 2 blocks apart, it was as comfortable as possible for Aria and Bella to live between the 2 houses. Sometime after Michael and Jennifer parted ways, Michael began dating another woman, with whom he eventually moved in. Michael's new partner was 43 years old, and her name was Bannock Lim, although she also went by Bunnock Landon or Hannah Landon. Since Hannah lived with Michael, she spent a lot of time with the girls. Although Michael and Hannah were not married, throughout the years she lived with him, she appeared to be a caring stepmother to the children. She got along well with them, especially with Bella. They would go on walks together, ride bikes, and swim in the pool. This was the way the family lived until April 2023. On April 25th, Michael had a very long and exhausting day at work. He returned home late and was so tired that he went straight to the bedroom, falling asleep the moment his head touched the pillow. He didn't check the girls' rooms, assuming they had been asleep for a long time. Hannah was not in the bedroom either, but this didn't concern him, since she often slept on the couch so as not to disturb his rest. When 7-year-old Aria Fontanelle woke up in the morning, she was delighted to discover that the tooth fairy had visited her during the night. She couldn't wait to share the joy with her younger sister. But when she and her father went into Bella's room, her bed was empty. Michael assumed that his daughter was playing hide-and-seek. Together, he and Aria searched the house inside and out, but Bella was nowhere to be found, and neither was Hannah. Michael could not comprehend where his girlfriend and his 6-year-old daughter could have gone, leaving the older Aria at home. Harahan is known as a very safe place. The town has fewer than 9,000 residents. Everyone knows each other, and the thought that a crime had occurred never crossed his mind. Yet, by 7:30 a.m., the worried father was already at the local police station reporting his daughter and Hannah missing. The police immediately began their work, starting with a search of the street where Michael and Hannah lived. At 8:20 a.m., officers approached the home of Bella's mother, Jennifer, who lived just 2 blocks from Michael's house. They expected that inspecting her home would be a routine check, but in the front yard, in plain sight, they noticed a large 38-liter plastic bucket, the kind normally used to store chlorine, for example, for pool disinfection. As they cautiously approached, the officers opened the bucket and recoiled in horror. They were unprepared for what they found inside. In the bucket lay the already cooling body of Bella Fontanelle. Jennifer had been at home that morning, but fortunately she had not yet stepped outside to make the horrifying discovery herself. It's almost unimaginable what a mother would have endured if she had found her daughter's body in that same yard where Bella had loved to play with her sister. The police immediately launched a homicide investigation. But where was Hannah, and what had happened to her? Was she the next victim on the list of a deranged killer? Now, the police were not only investigating Bella's murder, but also the possible abduction of Hannah. While the officers were investigating these 2 cases, they obtained surveillance footage from the streets near Jennifer's and Michael's homes. Many neighbors had provided the police access to their cameras. One recording was particularly chilling. At 9:33 a.m., the video shows a woman wearing a red blouse, black pants, and white boots, calmly walking toward Jennifer's house. She was pushing a cart with a white plastic bucket on it, the very same type in which Bella had been found. Even though she was carrying such a suspicious load, she appeared calm and showed no signs of hesitation. She did not even flinch or attempt to move aside as a car passed by. Meanwhile, the police finally managed to locate Hannah. She was at a hospital as a patient, awaiting a medical evaluation for her mental health. The most surprising part, it was the police themselves who had taken her to the hospital. The woman appeared at the station on Wednesday night, just after midnight. She was clearly not herself, disoriented and lost. She asked permission to use a phone, telling the officers that she had family problems and needed to hug her mother and grandmother. She refused to explain what those family problems were. The officers spent about 2 hours speaking with her before calling an ambulance. She was transported to East Jefferson General Hospital for a psychiatric evaluation. It was not entirely clear why so much time had passed in trying to locate a person whom the police themselves had already taken to the hospital. Perhaps different police departments had not connected the cases, or maybe the complication arose because Hannah had been using multiple names. In any case, she was immediately detained and taken straight from the hospital to the station for questioning. It turned out that Hannah was the same woman in the video, pushing the plastic bucket on a cart toward Jennifer's house. She was still wearing a red blouse, black pants, and white boots, matching the clothing of the woman in the footage. Detectives seized these items and handed them over to forensic specialists for analysis. The case seemed confusing until the police uncovered the long-standing history between Hannah and Jennifer. Their relationship could not even remotely be called friendly. Tensions had escalated to the point that police intervention had been required. On August 8, 2021, Aria and Bella were participating in swimming competitions at Riverside Country Club. Jennifer and her sister, Evelyn, came to support the girls. According to the police report, which was called as a result of a dispute between the women, when one of the girls finished her portion of the program, Jennifer approached to hug her daughter and tell her what a great job she had done. A perfectly normal thing. But Hannah did not like this and created a scene, claiming that it was a day the girls were supposed to spend with Michael. In other words, according to her, if it was Michael's week, all maternal family members were required to ignore Aria and Bella and not even approach them. Absurd as it sounds, Hannah evidently believed this. Evelyn complained to Michael about Hannah's behavior. Michael, of course, agreed that the mother should be able to hug her daughter, because no one can forbid a mother from congratulating her child after a successful competition. However, Hannah refused to back down. She pulled out her phone and began recording. In the middle of a nonsensical quarrel unfolding in front of the children, there was neither sense nor necessity. Evelyn raised her hand and told Hannah to stop. She did not try to grab the phone, merely raised her hand, probably to shield herself from the camera. But this enraged Hannah. She slapped Evelyn on the arm. Evelyn asked her never to do that again, and in response, Hannah grabbed her by the hair. The two women scuffled, pulling at each other's hair until bystanders intervened. Police arrived. They noticed that Evelyn had scratches under her left eye and on her left arm, and her face was slightly swollen and bleeding. When officers asked Hannah to explain what had happened, she refused to speak until threatened with arrest. Then she claimed that she had only wanted to take one of the girls out of the pool because she was cold. Suddenly, according to her, Evelyn had approached from behind, turned her face toward Hannah, and attacked her. She claimed this was why she had taken out her phone, to record the alleged attack. But when officers asked her for her phone number, she said she did not use a mobile phone, nor did Michael. She claimed people contacted her by email. Michael immediately provided his phone number. Hannah complained of back pain but refused to go to a separate room to document her injuries. She behaved unlike someone who had been assaulted and who would normally gather all possible evidence. Unlike the consistent accounts of Evelyn and Jennifer, Hannah had no corroboration. Michael had been at the opposite end of the pool. Furthermore, it was hard for police to believe someone who lied about something as simple as a phone. Interestingly, during this incident, an unknown woman appeared, identifying herself as Hannah's lawyer, and stated that if Hannah decided to cooperate, she would email the officer all photos of her injuries and a statement. It is hardly surprising that Hannah was charged with assault and issued a court summons. A little over a month after the swimming competition, Hannah sought a so-called restraining order, aiming to prohibit Jennifer and Evelyn from approaching her. In her statement, she described the quarrel at the pool, but her version differed drastically from what she had initially told officers. According to her, Jennifer had approached from behind aggressively, shoving her until Michael intervened. She also claimed that Evelyn had pulled, kicked, and pushed her. In her statement, Hannah also recalled another quarrel with Jennifer on March 17, 2021. During a football game, one of the girls, Jennifer, approached her from behind, grabbed her wrist sharply, pulled her close, and said, "I will hurt you." The court reviewed Hannah's statement in August 2021 and denied her restraining order request. Unsurprisingly, given her illogical behavior, why wait until mid-July if the alleged attacks had occurred in March and June? Moreover, she had given the police two conflicting versions of the incident. But the police were not her friends. They filed an official report, and if she truly wanted the judge to believe her and rule in her favor, she should have stuck to a single version. In any case, from 2021 onward, the relationship between Hannah and Jennifer remained tense. Outwardly, everything seemed normal, and law enforcement was not involved, until that April morning in 2023. On April 25, 2023, Bella and Aria's paternal grandmother picked up the girls after their activities and took them out for a snack. They stopped by the library and then brought lunch to their father at work. Afterwards, the grandmother brought the girls home, helped them take a bath, and put them to bed. She left Michael's house at 7:30 p.m. She noticed no hint of the looming problems between Hannah and the children. Otherwise, she said, she would not have left. The next confirmed event occurred around 9:30 p.m. when Hannah left the house and took a large plastic bucket from the side of the home. She loaded the bucket onto a cart, calmly wheeled it down the street, and left it in front of Jennifer's house. She then returned the cart home. Shortly afterwards, she went out again and buried an object in the yard of neighbors living a few houses away. Detectives later determined that it was her phone, wrapped in a plastic bag. Because the phone was buried, investigators could not track its pings while searching for Hannah. Once they unearthed the device, they discovered that immediately before burying it, Hannah had searched online for a criminal defense lawyer. After this, she went to the police, from where she was taken to the hospital. By the time Michael Fontenelle returned home around 9:45 p.m., Bella's body was already in Jennifer's yard. He blamed himself heavily for not checking his daughter's room when he came home from work, even though there would have been nothing he could do to help her at that point. Michael and Jennifer's neighbors were in shock over what had happened. They recalled Bella riding bikes with her sister on the street, remembered her as shy but pleasant, polite and friendly, and could not believe that anyone could put her body in a bucket. Because the bucket had a 38-liter capacity, rumors began circulating that Bella had been dismembered. However, the coroner dispelled these rumors. At a press conference, he stated that Bella had been strangled by hand and had also suffered multiple blows to the head from a blunt object. Afterward, her lifeless body was placed in the bucket. Forensic experts found Hannah's smeared blood on the bucket. She also had a wound on her left hand. Blood was also discovered in Michael's house, on the kitchen table, and in the backyard. On June 29, 2023, a preliminary hearing was held. Hannah was charged with first-degree murder and obstruction of justice. Under Louisiana law, if she were found guilty, she could face the death penalty. It is difficult to imagine the feelings of a mother who had been sleeping peacefully, confident that her children were safe. As far as is known, nothing indicated that Hannah was on the verge of a breakdown. Although the girls sometimes called Hannah mean and said they did not like staying at their father's house, there is no evidence that she had ever hurt or threatened them. Michael believed that Hannah loved the girls, especially Bella, but her hatred of Jennifer proved stronger than her affection for Bella. In the end, Bella paid the price for something she had no part in. According to police, neither Michael nor Jennifer had any involvement in the crime. Hannah's defense initially attempted to suggest Michael's influence or her mental instability as a mitigating factor, but these arguments were ultimately rejected. The case went to trial, and in May 2025, a jury found Hannah Bunick Landon guilty of first-degree murder and obstruction of justice. Despite her defense's attempt to claim mental incapacity, the jury concluded that she fully understood her actions when she committed the crime. She was sentenced to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole, with additional consecutive sentences for obstruction of justice. The verdict brought a tragic closure to the story. The community mourned Bella's loss, while the evidence, surveillance footage, Forensic analysis of the bucket and blood, and Hannah's own actions, confirmed the chain of events that led to the young girl's death. Justice had been served, though it could never undo the pain and loss experienced by her family. On the Thursday following Bella's murder, a memorial service was held, attended by more than 600 people. The children were supposed to have outdoor competitions that day, but the activities were canceled. Instead of allowing the kids to play and have fun, parents had to explain to them what had happened and why Bella would no longer be able to learn and grow with them. Michael and Jennifer also attended the service and even found the strength to speak to the children who had attended kindergarten with Bella, offering them comfort despite the nightmare they themselves were enduring. Since everything had occurred at the end of April, the kindergarten had likely already prepared graduation photos of the future graduates and distributed them to parents, including Michael and Jennifer. It is almost unimaginable the anguish of the girls' relatives as they looked at Bella's graduation photos, knowing she would never finish kindergarten and would always be only 6 years old. Bianca, Jennifer's sister, wrote very touchingly about her niece. "The world is so unfair. You were given to us for 6 amazing years. You were simply perfect. Your wonderful voice, your cheerful nature, the way you danced, how tender and sensitive you were, your smile, your laughter, the way you expressed yourself. I could talk endlessly about what an extraordinary little soul you were.